Hey, welcome back. Sorry, I don't even have the Bengals thing on here. But all right, I'm gonna give it like 10 seconds. Loosen up. Actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna run real quick bio, and then we'll get officially started. I'm gonna start the recording then as well. So, let's go again. Oh, Oak, I've got a proposal for you. That's gonna be the dream situation again because we've got a lot of flexibility in this roster. So, stay tuned. BRB bio before we start official recording. Who Dey Nation? Where you at? Who Dey Nation? Where you at? We are officially back here, guys, with the off-season plan Bengals edition. Who Dey Nation? We got the video today at the request of our follower here, the Oak Squirrel, our resident Bengals fan, and who's in chat tonight with us. With that, actually, Oak Squirrel's telling me fans threw beer at Jalen Hurts after the game. Were they Eagles fans? They better not have been. I mean, I'll be honest. I've heard stories, guys. I've heard that the worst fans in the NFL are Eagle fans, and I kind of believe it. It's one of those ones you don't want to go to an Eagles game and beat them at home and then walk back to your car. Let's just say that. But with that being said, guys, let's get jumped in. Let's jump into this, all right? Oh, I hit stop recording because I'm an idiot. All right. So once again, we're gonna get started here with our off-season plan Bengals edition for Who Dey Nation and Oak Squirrel, our resident Bengals fan who's in chat. Again, Oak Squirrel, thanks for dropping in and thanks for the request. So, the big story surrounding the Bengals offseason plans to start with is going to be the story of the safety position. Jesse Bates and Von Bell. As you can see, we've got percentage snaps there, 98.2 and 98%. Of course, this past draft in 2022 draft, they took Daxton Hill, the safety out of Michigan, who a lot of pundits think they didn't utilize correctly more till the end of the season, which I kind of saw that as well, where his play stepped up. So their plan is, of course, for him to take over one of these two roles. With that being said, we want to keep one of these two safeties in our plan. However, mind you, and we're going to cover this a little bit later, guys, no matter what happens with Jesse Bates and Von Bell, we're going to be okay because the free agent market and everything else that's going on. And of course, case in point, Jesse Bates, Von Bell, if they walk away and sign these big contracts, we're also going to get some comp pick in the next year. Of course, Jesse Bates, being a little bit younger, played outstanding, was on the franchise tag last year for us in the Bengals Nation. And I don't say that, I'm just talking as if I was the GM of the Bengals. Because, we Raven flock here. But with that being said, he threatened to hold out of camp when after the franchise tag, he came back and played. He was a professional, kind of like the Chuck Clark situation in Baltimore a little bit. Of course, not franchise tag, but with that being said, he's number 4 on the top 100 list right now. He's expected to get potentially $15 million a year. And that's why, even though he's the better player and younger, we're probably going to have to let him walk. It's not that we don't want him. I think he kind of wants to be done with Bengals, and he just wants to get paid big money and have that long-term contract. So we wish Jesse Bates the best in free agency. He's probably going to get some money. We're going to try to re-sign Von Bell. We'll go over those numbers in a little bit. Eli Apple. Let me ask, Oak Squirrel, if you're in chat, let me ask you, how do you feel about Eli Apple? He's gotten a lot of criticism. I think in this the AFC Championship, I'm sorry, not the AFC Championship game, I saw him PFF. He was like ranked like 101 out of 112 or something. So it doesn't seem like he's playing the best. So in my opinion, we're gonna kind of let him walk as well. We might be able to get a comp pick for that one potentially as well. Moving on to Hayden Hurst, the tight end. Basically signed a prove-it deal with Cincinnati this year. From what I saw, played really well. He's the former first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. We talked heavily about Hayden Hurst in the offseason plan for the Packers because as the Packers GM, I think Hayden Hurst, price-wise, is going to be a great value target with potential number 1 tight end, number 1 tight end potential, and no worse than a solid number 2 tight end in the league. Of course, we're going to be doing a little bit. We're going to tender Mitchell Wilcox, our restricted free agent. You'll see there on the right. So that's going to be 2 out of our 3 tight ends on the roster. Trey Flowers, the cornerback, played 16.5%. I believe mostly nickel kind of situation. We're going to bring back him on a pretty friendly deal. Samaje Perine, running back, 40.3% of the snaps. Now, we're going to be trying to bring Perine back on a pretty decent deal. Let me explain this. So here's going to be our plan with Perine because I'm going to give you a little tip here. We're probably going to be getting rid of Joe Mixon because we talked about this earlier. When I posed the question to Squirrel, I said if you had to keep Tyler Boyd or Joe Mixon, that's basically the decision I'm faced with the GM of the Cincinnati Bengals this year. Who would you keep? And I feel like it's way easier to find a running back in the draft. And, like case in point, there's been a lot of talk, guys like Bijan Robinson, who some have like a number 4 on their board talent-wise. However, running backs don't go early in the first round anymore. So you might have some really good running backs in the early second, late second, potentially. So our plan here as the GM of the Bengals with Samaje Perine is basically we're going to try to give him the reins to kind of be that guy if he wants to. We're either going to be bringing in a high competition draft pick or a somewhat competition draft pick with maybe a decent free agent signing that has some high upside. Trent Taylor, wide receiver, 13.3% of the snaps. We're probably going to let him walk. There is a little bit of chance, Bengal fans, for a re-sign there because it's not a lot of money, but he's, from my understanding, done a lot of, I believe is it the punt or the kick return, one of the two. So it's good to have some stability there. Linebacker Jermaine Pratt, about 70% of the snaps for y'all. I believe that was a right or left outside linebacker. We're going to be looking to re-sign him as well. He played really well. He played into some money. Hopefully he doesn't go in free agency. I would push harder to pay Pratt a little more money and then sign potentially a cheaper safety if we can't pay Von Bell. Like I said, we're going to go over this a little bit here later. We've got a lot of flexibility in this roster and what we do. Because, of course, case in point, if Von Bell walks to free agency for a lot of money, there's going to be some better safeties that we might be able to grab. Real quick, restricted free agents, Jalen Davis, 4.8% snaps on cornerback. Didn't play that well. We're going to go ahead and let him walk. He's not worth a tender. Maybe he comes back like, a really friendly deal just to stay with us. But, of course, we said earlier, Mitchell Wilcox, the tight end, we're going to go ahead and tender him. We'll go over the numbers on that later. Played about 44.7% of the snaps for us. And then there's been a little bit of controversy whether he's exclusive restricted. However, you do have one exclusive restricted free agent. Basically means you get to keep him no matter what, and that's Cal Adomitis, your lawn snapper. And of course, I didn't really watch the games, but it seems like the snapping to McPherson's been pretty good. And so we're going to try to keep him for like 3 years. That doesn't really cost a lot of money, but we'll go over that. All right, so the big numbers here for Houday Nation to keep an eye on. DJ Reader, $15.52 million. Of course, Bengal fans know Reader, I think only played like 10 games this year or so. So didn't play all his games. Trey Henderson, 15.48. I'm going to tell you right now that we're not touching that. Trey's played outstanding. Your pass rushes, even despite, everything, has played pretty well. Joe Mixon's going to hit for $12.79 million. And we're, like I said, basically comes down to Mixon or Boyd, because Boyd on the list coming in at 10.3. Our left tackle, Jonah Williams, played pretty well, 12.6, And as you can, if you're here on the stream, we've got a number of names on that list. The ones we're really going to be paying attention to, though, Joe Mixon at 12.79. Jonah Williams, left tackle, at 12.6. Of course, we got to figure out the extension for Joe Burrow. Tyler Boyd at 10.3. Lyle Collins at 9.34. And then Chidobe Awuzie at 7.9. Those are going to be the big ones. But like I said, the Bengals are in a great situation. The Bengals are coming in, I think, 6 overall in cap space available this next upcoming season at $35.673 million in cap space. With that being said, looking again at cap numbers, and I'm sorry if my subscribers is covering that top right number. The Joe Burrow extension upcoming, we're expecting approximately, again, a $46 million market. We've talked about this a lot in our other videos. OTC evaluated Joe Burrow's play at $44.054 million. So again, right on that money, and paying him a little higher, definitely easy. There's also the option of tagging a safety. We have that there. The tag numbers for like Bates would be approximately 15.48 million. However, if we tag Bates and we try to like force a low draft pick out of it, I just think it sets a bad example. So I don't see that happening. However, as the GM of the Bengals, we do have the option of tagging Jesse Bates again and basically letting him negotiate a deal. Of course, we're not going to get 2 first-round picks for Jesse Bates. But at that point, again, if we can secure even some low draft picks, it'd be kind of worth it. A big thing we're going to talk about here with the Bengals roster, which we haven't talked about with any roster so far, this could have been applied a little bit to Green Bay's. You're allowed, according to the CBA, to roll cap over to the next year. So the CBA requires that you spend 89.1%, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 89% of your cap every year on your players. So basically that 11% cap you're allowed to roll over to the next year. As we talks about there, according to ESPN Field Yates, the Cleveland Browns are rolling over $27.5 million in cap space from 2022, which is where they're getting a lot. Oh, Jamar, and see, that's the thing. We're going to be trying to roll cap space over to next year for basically Jamar Chase's contract, as well as, the increase in Joe Burrow's contract. Basically, like it says there, we're looking to potentially follow the example that a lot of these teams are doing with rolling over cap. And if we can't, because of course, what I would love to do with that extra cap space is like front load the Burrow extension, the Wilson extension, and the Boyd extension. Because if I have $30 million already in extra cap space prior to all the work I'm about to do on the roster to make a little more money, like I said, we could have a lot of money where we could not only front load contracts, but roll over possibly $27 million for the next year. And again, that's $27 million we can use at that point on someone like Jamar Chase, which we're going to need that money. But we're going to go over that a little bit here in just a moment. So with that being said, let's go over the restricted free agency tenders we're going to issue, as well as potential re-signings. So real quick, RFAs really are easy. Mitchell Cox is the tight end we talked about earlier. OTC evaluated his play at $4.23 million. That's really good for a restricted free agent. That's just a little under where Hayden Hurst was playing. So Mitchell Cox is basically going to be more of our future potential. The restricted, we're going to do a right of first refusal offer on him because I believe he was undrafted, which is going to cost us $2.4 million. And we talked about our long snapper, Cal Adomitis. We're going to extend him basically about a $1 million per year extension, really cheap for long snappers. So let's move to the unrestricted free agents. So like I said, Bates is just going to be priced out of Houday Nation. It's just what happens. Von Bell, though, he's playing on a $6 million contract currently. OTC evaluated his play at $7.01 million. He's like 26 to 29, somewhere in that range. With that being said, again, this is going to be a pretty competitive safety class with Bates leading the way as the number 1 safety and number 4 overall possible free agent. We're going to try to actually bring back Von Bell on about a $9 million average deal. That's paying him more than his OTC, giving him a raise, and acknowledging that he's basically going to be a leader in that secondary with Daxton Hill. We're going to try to bring back Hayden Hurst as well. So OTC, like we talked about in the Packers video, evaluated his play at $6.5 million. This is, again, going to be a very competitive safety and tight end market. He is 1 year prove-it deal coming off at 3.5. I'm comfortable signing Hayden Hurst at about $7.5 million. And this is what we talked about. So case in point, let's say Von Bell gets offered $12 million in free agency. We're not willing to match. That's $9 million. I can go try to find a better bargain safety because there's going to be a lot in this free agent. Same thing with the Hayden Hurst. I'm again allocating more in my cap here than his value, which I think is fair. And again, if case point, if we sign Hayden Hurst, drafting tight end gets pushed down on our list a little bit. But I'm willing to allocate $7.5 million in our cap space to make sure he doesn't even hit free agency. And between Mitchell Wilcox and Hayden Hurst plus a late draft pick potential, I think our tight end position is going to be more than shored up. Trey Flowers, the cornerback we mentioned earlier, didn't play a lot of snaps, only 16.5%. But OTC evaluated his play at $2.839 million. I'm more than comfortable with keeping a more veteran presence nickel there because we're going to attack that later in the draft as well and potentially even in the first round. Because as a Baltimore fan, I've watched the Bengals over the years in the draft take first round corner after first round corner after first round corner. So I don't expect that trend to change anytime soon. But we're willing to sign Trey Flowers at $2.8 million. Probably just a 1 year, maybe 2 year deal on that one. 16.5%. You could only allocate so much. So another one again, flexibility. Samaje Perine played 40% of the snaps. OTC evaluated his play at $4.86 million. He's playing on a $1.85 million. He's on the top 100 list, but he's pretty low, so he might get priced out in free agency. If that happens and we get rid of Joe Mixon, I'll be honest, at that point we could probably keep Joe Mixon at least for 1 more year. However, I'm trying to roll a lot of money over to next year and pay a lot of money on these extensions now, especially for guys like Burrow and Logan Wilson, the linebacker, who Logan Wilson played out of his mind for y'all for how much you're paying him like $1 to $3 million, and he played like at a $9 million OTC value. But we'll go over that later. So Samaje Perine, my plan with Samaje, again, if we move on from Joe Mixon, I would like to sign Samaje around $5 million. However, because like we talked about, hey Samaje, I'm going to give you a chance to be that lead guy. Come out in camp, show me you deserve to get 80% of these snaps, kind of deal, or higher than 40, and we'll do some performance mods to get up to potentially $8 million. If I lose $3 million on my rollover because Samaje Perine plays better than Joe Mixon, basically, I'm ecstatic. That's wonderful. I still saved money in the entire deal. So that's our plan there. Of course, there's a small chance he could get priced out of our market. Maybe he wants to go somewhere, but I think that would be very enticing for him. Because everyone wants to be that guy. So not only is he getting a pay increase, he's getting the potential to be the number 1 guy on a Super Bowl caliber team. And if he plays well, he makes even more money. So I think that's a good signing. We talked about Jermaine Pratt earlier. So Jermaine Pratt played for less than $3 million last year for the Bengals. OTC evaluated his play at basically $8.74 million. He's number 91 on the top 100. So with a kind of weaker linebacker market, Jermaine Pratt might get a little bit of inflation. However, though, I'm willing to pay him the $9 million. I think to keep him, Wilson, and I'm sorry, your other outside linebacker, but he's not coming up for free agency or anything in his cap number. He played pretty decently. Nothing to really worry about there. So you basically would get to keep your linebacking core and your D-line, your front seven, intact while adding depth. Great. And again, if he signs for somewhere more than $9 million, that's $9 million I can allocate somewhere else. And maybe, again, draft change, things will change a little bit as well. But with that being said, that's going to be our RFA tenders and re-signings. Not a lot here going on. But, we're going to have some clear vision after free agency because most of these guys are going to be early free agency things. All right, so we got to go over a few things because also, again, a lot of this money we want to get done for T. Higgins because we got to get T. Higgins done as well. So T. Higgins evaluated at $12.87 million according to OTC. Basically we want Jamar, Higgins, and Burrow to be together for a while. With that being said, we have to get the Higgins because Higgins is, I think 24 to 26. He's a good bit younger than Boyd. So got a really bright future. And as you can see, the numbers are a little misaligned there. With the Higgins extension, it's not about cap savings. His cap hit's not that bad this year. It's about locking up a future player. So we're only going to get $1.5 million if we can get this extension done with T. Higgins. And again, we're looking to take a lot of this money we're creating. Because again, I'm going to slide to the other side here so you can see, hopefully. With some of these other moves, we're going to be freeing up a good chunk of money. We're going to have to pay these guys because they're the core of this team. So, of course, just like the T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, not going to get a lot in cap savings. That's the $3.62 million in cap savings if we can get the extension done now. Not a lot of money. And, of course, OTC evaluated Joe Burrow's play at $44.05 million. So we're expecting to hit that about $46 million extension range. 46.6 is, I think, what we're looking at, in my opinion. But again, it's about locking up a player, getting the deal done, and allocating our future cap space now rather than later. Exactly. T and Burrow, Oak Squirrel said in chat, T and Burrow are like peanut butter and jelly. They are. And so it's, again, our plan is to keep Boyd, Higgins, Jamar, and Burrow together for the next 3 to 5 years. We might have to do a little work on running back, but considering the pass numbers in the league, I think it's more than okay. Chidobe Awuzie, we're going to be looking to do a little bit of an extension or restructure there. That's going to allocate about $4.136 million. I believe Awuzie had an injury as well this year, so I think we can get that done. Basically, a really good core player, if I'm not mistaken here. Let me see if I have his... I thought I had his snap percentage. My apologies. But we're going to lock him up kind of. Not like a huge deal by any means. We're basically going to pay him hopefully right around that $3.1 million OTC valuation. Jonah Williams, the left tackle for the Bengals. Again, I believe he's coming up 2024 free agent as well. OTC evaluated his play 8.7. We all know how big it is to have a franchise left tackle basically in the league. I'll say one of my things is wrong here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which one am I missing? Oh, well, we're going to keep moving. Jonah Williams, though, we want to lock up the left tackle here for a while. That's going to give us a good chunk of savings. We're gonna work out an extension potentially with I know, I'm like, man, who am I missing now? It's gonna drive me nuts. Give me 1 second. I'm like OCD now. Like, which number am I missing here? Gerbo is the 3.6. T. Higgins is the 1.5, I think. Yep. Okay. Ouzier. I think I missed Ouzier. 4.1. Nope. DJ Reader. Maybe that's it. 8. Nope. Okay, that's that. I don't know. Losing my mind, I guess. And I'm sorry I got the numbers mixed up. Like I said, I haven't slept in a while. But yeah, we're going to extend Jonah Williams. We're going to extend DJ Reader, hopefully reach a better cap number there, and extend Tyler Boyd. We're also going to work out our extension with Logan Wilson. Well, the Logan Wilson one, just like T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, not about cap savings this year, guys. It's more about locking up franchise players for a long time, and hopefully, like I said, we're looking to take a good chunk because whenever we get to our cap numbers here, you're going to see I'm going to try to free up a lot of money here this year. Hopefully, I can use a good chunk of the money that I free up to front load a contract. But worst case, I'm going to roll over $20-something million to next year for a lot of this contracts. So that brings us to the trade cuts. Tyler Boyd's been discussed a lot. Basically, again, Boyd or Mixon. So in this case, I'm just putting it up there so you know, but I'm keeping Boyd in my best option. The cut savings for Boyd is $8.9 million, which is a huge chunk. That's basically the money to allocate towards Jamar Chase, even though it's going to cost a little more. But we're not going to do that. With that being said, let's talk about Joe Mixon. So Joe Mixon, like I said, not playing bad. He's playing like OTC, like $10 to $12 million range, playing really well. But if we can cut or trade Joe Mixon, I'm like blocking the numbers here on the other side, we can save $10.041 million. And if we add him to the free agent market or we trade him, hopefully trade him, after franchise tags, Joe Mixon would probably be the number one back on the market. So with that being said, we're hopefully trying to trade Mixon. And again, it's not about bad play or anything. It's just about we're trying to allocate extra cap space and to roll over and put some money now on these contracts. Because like case in point, Logan Wilson, we could up his pay this year if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. And again, contracts are a little weird in the NFL. But so Mixon, in my opinion, can probably get a second round pick. He's probably first round talent, honestly. But I could see a team giving our second and third, in which I would be more than ecstatic for because, again, the Bengals already have 7 draft picks, 1 in every round. Very balanced draft. But if we can add more, we can really stockpile some picks, and this will go to a very deep team very quickly. We're also going to probably move on from La'el Collins. Again, trade or cut, the savings is going to be just 7.7. So the deal is this, we're locking up our left tackle long term. La'el didn't play bad, but the cap hits a little high, and the backups have played pretty well. Basically, in my opinion, the top 2 draft priorities for me as the GM of the Bengals in this plan is going to be cornerback and offensive line. Case in point, if I'm sitting there at 27 and there's like a potential franchise right tackle on the board still, I'm taking him. Basically use him to play right tackle. And again, we've got some good backups. Hakeem, I messed up his name, Adeniji, I believe, played really well, played like a $5 million OTC value. And Max Schooling, who was a waiver wire acquisition for y'all, cost a little bit in cap, but actually played pretty well. So you've got, and Max actually got a lot of play, I think, when Kappa was hurt in your playoff push. So your backups played pretty well, and we're going to go find another tackle, hopefully, in the draft. because 7.7 is a good chunk, and we're trying to find some money no matter what. So let's look at these cap numbers. So we're starting, like I said, positive $35.673 million. That's going to be 6th in the NFL so far in cap space. If we pull all the extensions, trades, restructures, or cuts that we just talked about, we're going to add $44.237 million onto that cap space, guys, which is a lot of money. Then we have to, of course, add on, though, the cost of our re-signs and tenders, which is going to cost us approximately $24.3 million. However, of course, that easy numbers, guys. That's we're saving more than we're spending. With that being said, cap number post-move of all these moves that I talked about, the Bengals would be sitting at $55.61 million in cap space. That would move the Bengals from 6th to 3rd in cap space, just behind the Atlanta Falcons. No one's going to be able to touch the Bears, probably. But again, that's huge because we're going to be able to keep Burrow, Higgins, and Boyd together for like 3 to 5 years. And that gives us plenty of cap to work deals with Jamar and Logan Wilson and some of these other guys. And with that 55.61, you're going to expect probably somewhere between 2 to 7 million to sign your draft class. You've got plenty of room to work. But like I said, the big thing here is going to be rolling that cap space over. If we can roll $27 million over to next year, that's a lot of money to help sign Jamar Chase and anyone else that we need to keep. So with that being said, I think, again, so in this case, we have Perrine at running back. We have Boyd, Higgins, and Jamar still at wide receiver. We have hopefully Hayden Hurst or equivalent. All of our linebackers are staying together. The only corner that's leaving is Eli Apple. And we're probably going to lose Jesse Bates. For safety, again, if we can't sign Bell back, we're going to be able to get someone back. And we're going to talk about that here. So if Hurst leaves in free agency, we're going to talk about the free agency side first before we go to the draft side. So if Hurst leaves in free agency, of course, tight end's going to be kind of a high priority for me as the GM of the Bengals. However, we talked about it. There's going to be a lot of good safeties and tight ends on this market. So with that being said, if Hurst or Bell don't take the deals that we discussed earlier, and whoever all my new viewers in, thanks for coming in. Are you part of Who Dey Nation? I'll go back if you tell me to. We're getting closer to the end of this coverage. But, so we're going to have a lot of flexibility there because if Bell and Hurst leave, no matter what, you're going to be able to sign a bargain. So again, we allocated $9 million to sign Bell to average per year. If he leaves, that's $9 million we get to put somewhere else. And maybe we sign a safety then for $7 million instead of $9 million. I'm even in a better cap situation. For all my viewers that came back in, let me go back one slide real quick. So starting at $35 million, I'm going to save $44 million from trades, extensions, restructures, and cuts. Re-signing some free agents and tenders, we're going to come out $55.61 million in cap space added, which again, we're looking to roll over about $27 million in cap space to next year to help with the Jamar Chase extension. And hopefully front load a little bit more of these contracts with Burrow, Wilson, and Higgins, so that hopefully we in the later years we have more cap-friendly numbers so we can work some more flexibility. I.e. see Patrick Mahomes' roster where he's going up and down almost every year. So again, also the Mixon Perrine situation becomes a little fluid. We're planning on letting Mixon go to keep Boyd, and vice versa, however that goes. I'd rather let Mixon go because I feel like it's easier to replace a running back, and the wide receiver market is going to be trash in free agency, with the only real ones being like Jacoby Myers and, oh my gosh, I forgot the other guy. Anyway, but so like I said, we're going to try to sign Perrine at about a 5-year deal with performance bonuses up to $8 million. Give him the chance to be that guy while also either bringing in a guy through the draft or a lower free agent. But again, he's on the top 100. Could go, might be able to get a draft, comp pick there. We're not going to be doing a lot of free agents moves, though. We're going to be doing smart, cap-conscious moves. We're looking to basically make sure tight end and safety don't see too much turnover. Depending on how we're feeling about Perrine in the draft position, we might bring in a lower tier free agent halfback basically to push Perrine a little bit if Perrine doesn't get there. And we talked about a little bit earlier. You can roll about 11% of your salary cap to the next year. So we're going to be trying to take about 55.6 million and roll about 24 to 27 million to help with the Jamar Chase extension and deal with some of the cap hits of Logan Wilson, Higgins, and Burrow. With that being said, after we take care of, again, tight end and safety here in the free agency, we're looking to fill the rest of the roster with draft picks. Bonus, if we can get some draft picks for some of these guys like Mixon and La'el Collins, that's great. But if not, we're still in a pretty decent position. I hate to even say this, but DeAndre Hopkins is going to demand a lot of attention here no matter what. And for Houday Nation, Oak, I want to pitch this to you because, again, how exciting would this be? So Tyler Boyd, like we talked about, could save $8.9 million if he's cut or traded. Tyler Boyd's great. Let me ask you, for anyone in chat, Tyler Boyd or DeAndre Hopkins, who would you take on a 3-year deal, basically? Because that's about the cap hit of Hopkins next year because the Cardinals are going to be on the hook for a good chunk of it. So there's a potential we could, maybe do a little bit of a swap pick, Boyd and Hopkins kind of deal. Or, again, trade Boyd because, again, really weak free agency market for wide receivers. So, hypothetically, I could leverage that to get that third, maybe second-round pick that someone's looking for DeAndre. And, package basically whatever I trade Boyd for if I can't do swap with Arizona. Package the deal, basically. Whatever I get for Boyd, send for DeAndre. The cap hit's almost identical. DeAndre's got 2 years on his deal, which, again, we can work that into it. It's one of those ones I hate even bringing up DeAndre again, but he's gonna be the number one domino in the wide receiver market this offseason. Absolutely. Boyd is probably going to be the second if anything happens with Boyd. And like I say there, I don't know about my viewers and my listeners, but I think most Bengals fans would take that trade. For all my viewers that just came back in, let me ask you, would you take Tyler Boyd or DeAndre Hopkins? Please let me know in chat. Because again, I hate to discuss DeAndre, but I'm going to say it one more time. Every domino in the wide receiver market this offseason is going to fall after DeAndre. Everyone's going to want DeAndre. Everyone. And so it's probably going to be about who's willing to give him a deal. Really, Oak Squirrel says in chat he would take Boyd. It's just one of those ones. So, Oak Squirrel, the cost of DeAndre is almost the same as Tyler Boyd. Legitimately. If you were to cut or trade Boyd, the money you would get back would cover DeAndre Hopkins' cap hit for the year. And of course, at this point, if we make all these moves, we're third in cap. There's not a lot of people that could compete with us. And I have a big feeling DeAndre wants to rework his deal. He's got a lot of weird clauses coming up in 2024 based on performance that he's not going to be close to meeting because of everything that went down in Arizona. And that's what I'm saying, my boy. Oak Squirrel was like, oh, Hopkins then. That's what I'm saying. Potentially. So what I could do is I could trade or ideally trade Boyd for whatever draft compensation the Cardinals are looking for Hopkins. Of course, if Hopkins had his choice of where he wants to go, yeah, he wants to go play with Higgins, Jamar, and Burrow. Legitimately. Because the Cardinals are going to be on a good bit of the hook for DeAndre's cap. So DeAndre is actually only going to hit for about $9 million, with Boyd's hitting 10. I think the hit goes up maybe somewhere to 12 to 4 in the next year. But so, you could basically almost trade Boyd. I think DeAndre and Boyd are coming up same free agency year. So you could basically just do a trade. You might be able to contact the Cardinals and be like, hey, I'll give you Boyd, you give me DeAndre. If you want to cut Boyd, you now save $8.9 million or whatever. And they could take that and just cut him. And Penguin, thanks for dropping in, man. Sorry, we're talking DeAndre again because the Bengals would be a really attractive destination for DeAndre. If I was DeAndre, that's probably where I want to go, to be honest with you. But with that being said, moving over to the draft side. Like I said, the Bengals have 7 selections in the 2023 draft. Of course, we're looking to add more picks via trade back early in the second round and some other trades. Like we talked about earlier, Mixon, potentially, in my opinion, is kind of worth a second-round pick. That's what I would move Mixon for. And if I could get a second-round pick for Mixon while clearing 10.9 million or whatever off the books, that's a win-win in my opinion. And Penguin, something we talked about in this one, which I didn't address in the Packers video, is the potential of rolling draft or cap space over to the next year. The Bengals, I was able to create almost $55.6 million in cap space in total cap, which would place them third in cap space in the NFL next year. Which, of course, at that point, we're going to be looking to front load contracts for Burrow, Higgins, as well as Logan Wilson, the linebacker. Or roll over approximately, you can roll over 11% of your cap space to the next year, which again is going to be one of our big things. Penguin says, I just hit 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Congrats, Penguin, on that, by the way. So with that being said, looking at the draft, if we don't add any draft picks at all in the first round for the Bengals, of course, have a long history here of drafting first-round corners. I kind of see that trend continuing, basically letting Eli Apple walk and going and finding a first-round corner to take his spot. Again, also, offensive line, if there's a really dominant tackle that's there, or maybe a really dominant guard, I would consider it. But with that being said, I think the Bengals at pick number 27 or 28, if I remember correctly, are going to be an ideal situation to trade back into the early second round, which then hopefully they address both of those bam, bam, back to back. But with that being said, I think a lot of the dominant offensive linemen are going to be gone at this point. I think there's going to be some really good corners on the board because I think we're going to see a lot of wide receivers going. There's going to be a lot of defensive players like linebackers and edge rushers, D linemen drafted early. So I see the Bengals going with a first-round cornerback, followed by second round, more than likely an offensive lineman. However, depending on the Perrine and Hurst, as we talked about, tight end and running back could kind of sneak up there in the second round. Case in point, we take a first-round corner with 27, and midway through the second round, someone like Bijan's still on the board early second. Would it be worth trading back and maybe be able to pick up Bijan and someone else? There's a lot of different ways we can go. But basically, corner and offensive lineman are going to be my 2 number 1 needs in the draft. Third round, whatever we didn't hit in that first and second round, essentially. So if I go corner O-line, I'm probably in third looking tight end running back, ideally. After that, ideally, if everything goes just as I said, there are no holes on this roster. There is nothing but all-stars in every position. And from 4th to 7th round, and again, why I don't mind taking later round picks for some of those guys, we're going to load up a little bit on the D-line. We're going to get some backup. Basically, we're looking for backups. We're looking for backup wide receivers, backup safeties and corners, backup edge rushers, backup D linemen. And I think the Bengals, dude, that's terrifying. The Bengals, and Penguin says, wow, a first-round cornerback. The Bengals have a long history of taking first-round corners. Dude, at one point, there was a stat line between their draft picks and as well as free agent signings of corners. like 5 out of 6 of the Bengals starting DBs were either drafted in the first round by the Bengals or drafted in the first round by other teams and playing for the Bengals. They love their corners in Cincy, let me tell you. And it's because they've got a pretty good pass rush, too. Between Trey Hendrickson and, oh my gosh, my apologies, Hubbard on the other side, they've got really good edge rushers. They've got really good interior defensive linemen. They've got really good linebackers in Wilson, Pratt, and the other young stud who plays at a pretty good level. There's not a lot of holes on this roster, especially once we work a lot of these extensions and stuff like that. So I really think, again, though, it's one of those ones. It's hand in hand. If there's a really good right tackle on the board for the Bengals, they're taking him. They are absolutely taking him. Because I think we're going to try to move. And again, if we move La'el Collins for a 4th round pick, I'm ecstatic about it. You know, that's again, I'm just going to, at that point, I'm adding depth everywhere I can in those later rounds. I'm just a big draft guy, I guess. But if we sign Perrine and we sign Hurst, basically the first 2 picks, first, second, no matter what, maybe even again, we talked about ideally if I'm the Bengals, I trade 27 back to like early second and I take it I would hopefully at that point have 2 second-round picks plus some late. I take corner O-line in the 2nd round. At that point I probably have a 2/3 again. Maybe at that point, take another O-lineman and a running back or running back then O-line. And again, just the Bengals. It's frustrating, I'm going to be honest, as a Ravens fan to look at this roster, look at their cap situation, and not be a little envious. Like, it's just... they're in a really good position to be contenders for the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, they've already got 2 Super Bowl appearances under Burrow. Again, just they've done a good job. They've done a good job building this team pre-Burrow. See, the thing is, we went in Baltimore. Our problem is we had Joe. Joe won us a Super Bowl. We gave Joe the biggest contract. Joe played okay, but what comes with that usually is destroying the roster. And we had been paying Suggs, a lot of defensive players. We weren't in the best cap situation for it. So it's one of those ones, and then contracts have gotten a little different. We weren't in a great place, and then when we tried to transition from basically Flacco to Lamar, we weren't in the best position to. We had a good window with Lamar's contract as a rookie, and we squandered it with Greg Roman and John Harbaugh, and it was so frustrating. And that's what kills me is looking at this. Like I said, if we make all these moves for the Cincinnati Bengals, we're going to be 3rd in cap space. We're going to roll like almost half of that cap space in next year to really have our extensions. Penguin and chat asked, do you think they are drafting a quarterback anytime soon? If you're talking about the Bengals, not happening. If you're talking about my Ravens, probably. As Oak Squirrel said, no, Joe Burrow to go. No, the Bengals are very happy with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow, honestly, it's one of those ones. Again, I love Joe Burrow too. I love all these young quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, in my opinion, in a lot of stuff he does, and this is going to be controversial, Chimera, if you're there, I'd take Joe Burrow over Josh Allen, in my opinion. I was terrified after watching Joe blow his knee out, but he came back, my guy. Like, I love Joe's personality. I love everything about Joe Burrow, to be honest with you. It's hard to hate him. It's one of those ones, when I saw the cheap shot in Joe Burrow in the playoffs, I was angry as a Ravens fan because I don't want to see a guy like that get hurt. Penguin says the GOAT like me. I just think And see, for me, I'm still working on my contract skills, guys, on over the cap. It's hard for me to do the cap numbers and work it all out correctly. Um, and maybe I'll give it a try here. Because after that we have the outlook, which we kind of just covered there. They're in a great freaking situation, sadly. Um, as coming from a Ravens fan. Oh my gosh. Let me rename this file. Yeah, because all right, I'm looking at the depth chart here for the Bengals. So of course we have Joe Burrow, Samaje Perine again, and we're trying to bring in some, hopefully a really good guy in later. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, keeping all three with Hayden Hurst. After that, Trent Irwin, Stanley Morgan, Trent Taylor, guys you've never heard of. Trent Taylor's mostly a special teamer. With that being said, again, we're looking to add a lot later in the draft. We've got our 3 stars. We're paying them. We just need late guys that can play a little bit of special teams. We've got Mitchell Wilcox and Hayden Hurst at tight end, so not a lot of, we got to do there. With that being said, Jonah Williams is our franchise left tackle. We're signing him. Ted Karras plays pretty well when he's healthy. Kappa's the right guard. Might need a left guard, Cordell Volson. But again, Akeem Adeniji and Max Sharping played really well for the Bengals as backups. So we're pretty confident letting Lyall go and letting them kind of continue. So again, if we can get a first-round offensive lineman, a stud tackle to let Adeniji and Sharping play interior, the Bengals are in a great offensive line position. Looking at the defense then, Sam Hubbard, great edge rusher. DJ Reader, we're extending him. He was injured a good bit this season. He's an all-star. BJ Hill, pretty good player. With that being said, those front 4, really good. However, the depth behind them is questionable. So again, we're using a lot of these draft picks for depth. Trying to find diamonds in the rough more so than anything. Moving on to the linebacker court, Logan Wilson. Again, we're doing that extension not to save money, but to basically keep a franchise linebacker with us. Jermaine Pratt, the middle linebacker, played really well. We're looking to keep him around, basically. Akeem Davis Gaither, that's the name I was missing. Played pretty well, not like an all-star, but he's not coming up for a while. He's the sub linebacker. So again, we don't really need any all-stars, big signings, big draft picks there. Just, again, depth, diamond in the roughs that might play way better than their contract. Cornerbacks, we got Cam Taylor, Britt, Mike Hilton, Eli Apple, Chidobe Awuzie, Trey Flowers. Had a lot of injuries there. So that's why I'm saying I really think the first-round pick is going to be corner. Because I see them keeping Von Bell, letting Jesse Bates go. Dax Hill's going to step into Jesse Bates' position. So there's not really a need there. So that's why, again, first-round corner, I think high potential for the Bengals. They've done it in years past. I could see the Bengals even potentially trading up a few spots if a guy's falling like a tackle or a corner that they really love. I could see the Bengals moving up maybe approximately 4 draft positions to go get a guy a little higher in the first round there. So like I said, with that, not a lot of holes we have to fill. And why I'm saying we're not really going to be aggressive in free agency. We're going to be rolling a lot of that cap space over for the next year. I'm going to try to get a better look here on these 2024 numbers. So we're going to follow Josh Allen's numbers for contract-wise. For Higgins, we're going to Christian Kirk. Let me check that contract. I think that's what that contract's going to look like. Yeah, that's probably what that contract's going to look like. equals divide by 4-year deal. Yep, 18 million. So yeah, that's going to be a good example probably of T. Higgins' contract. Let me see. Logan Wilson. I want to take a look at his play real quick. Paying a 9.5. Over the cap. Linebacker contracts. And if anyone's still sticking around, thank you for sticking around. We're about to try to do a little bit more work here with these numbers. So he worked out 11, so that's his worth. CJ. Okay, we're going to model that after. Actually, we're going to model it. After the Deion Jones contract. So we're going to model Burrow's contract after Josh Allen's, T. Higgins after Christian Kirk's, and Logan Wilson after Deion Jones. I think that's how I'm going to work this. Jonah Williams, 26, playing at 8-point left tackle. Contracts over the cap. I'm going to try to evaluate how much we're going to have to pay Wilson to. Let's see. 26. Orlando Brown's deal actually would probably be a great deal. No, it's a 1-year deal, that's right. Okay, that's a good one to model after, potentially. Jordan Mailata, the left tackle of the Eagles, played at almost exactly the same OTC evaluation, so that's a great one to do, actually. All right, so we're going to do that. I'm going to submit. All right, so I want to put this on here. And we're going to do a little bit of trimming real quick here. Transform, edit, transform. Do like 500. Gotta do more, 750. Perfect. See, right, maybe 750. Perfect. Top 100. Bottom 100. Much better. All right, so we got the cap calculator here. So we've submitted the Joe Mixon trade cut. We've submitted our Lyle Collins trade cut. So there's our extra cap space. So already, right there, $53 million for 2023 without any real other work. I don't know if it considers these. No, it doesn't. All right. So with that being said, let's start here. Joe Burrow, extend or renegotiate. Then it brings up this. So we're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years onto this deal. Again, we're going to model this after Josh Allen's. Let's see here. All right. With that being said, the guaranteed, let's work these numbers. All right, so 2023. So the 2022 season was the start. So he hit guaranteed salary 4.1 million. million. Why is it doing that? 4.1 million. 4.1, 27.5 million. 16 million. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we have non-prorated bonuses or base salary. So the base salary, 4.1 million. All right. I don't know why it does it like that. 4.1 million. Base salary, 27.5 million. 23.5 million. 14 million. 22.5 million. 14 million. And 15.5. Oops. 15.5 million. Okay. So with that being said, non-prorated bonuses. So that's roster and workout bonuses. So that works out to 500,000, 500,000, 6.5 million, 25.5 million, 16 million, 26 million, and 26 million. Prorated bonuses. I don't know why I can't. Oh, is that what that is? Do I have to? $65.525 million with 0 void years. Transact. I think I did that right. Let's see. Cap hit this year, 24 million. Cap hit next year, 4 million and 41. Hey, I did it kind of right. Okay. So with that, we're able to lower Joe Mixon's cap, or increase it this year a little bit, but it saves our money for next year. It takes like 10 million here. So with that being said, let me work out these next contracts. And my apologies. I'm going to stop my actual recording for a podcast. If you want to actually come in, watch this stream, come watch, check me out on YouTube. We're going to keep going on YouTube, but that's it for the podcast today. So again, we're starting to work these numbers. So we worked out our Joe Burrow contract here in the extension. 2023, his cap hit's going to be a good bit. 2024, it's actually going to drop. And then 2025, we're going to have, the cap hits start hitting. With that being said, let's move to the T. Higgins contract. We're going to model T. Higgins contract after the 4-year deal here of Christian Kirk, who got too much money in free agency, but he played at 16.3. So I feel like T. Higgins is going to be aiming for somewhere around this money. So give me a moment to work this in. Let's see. All right. Start with the base salary. So on the extension, 1.5 million. Moving up to 15.5 million base salary, 14.5 followed by 15.5. And we're trying to do this to get the actual like more full number. So prorated we had 20 million. Non-prorated, guaranteed salary, I shouldn't have messed with that. Oh well, 1.5 mil, 15.5 mil, no guaranteed salary on those. So non-prorated bonuses. See, they've got a lot of bonuses in there. It's like per game roster bonus, workout bonus, roster bonus. So that's 1 million. 1 million. Oh, that's per game, actually. That's a tough one. We're going to hit those with like 5 millions. Keep messing up. 5 million, 5 million, 5 million, and 5 million. Basically making roster and workouts, basically, is what all that is, while giving 20 million in guaranteed. I think that makes that right. Oh, you're fine, Penguin. We're actually we're doing more in depth here now. Actually, what we're doing is actually working the extensions for Joe Burrow. So we copied the contract numbers for Josh Allen into Joe Burrow. We copied the contract numbers from Christian Kirk over to T. Higgins to work that number. So T. Higgins, again, not a really big cap hit this year. 2024 count for 10 million. 2025, 24 million. Let me see here. So now we have to work the deal on Jonah Williams, the franchise left tackle. For that, we're going to be copying the left tackle contract of of the Eagles, Jordan Mailata. With that being said, oh, that's a rookie deal, isn't it? Why does he have void years? I'm so confused. We're going to sign him to a 3-year extension. With that being said, I'm going to copy some of the bigger numbers here for Matt Mailata. So he's already making 12, actually. This is where it gets hard trying to figure out which contract is the best. I don't think that's a good comparison, so I'm trying to find a better one. Penguin, dude, I'm trying, man. I don't know if you read my description, dude. I've been working overnights for like the past 4 days straight. I've slept less than 4 hours these past few days. And I still have an overnight tonight. As soon as I finish this video, I've got to get ready to head in. To be honest with you, I've got to wrap this up before 10 o'clock. Let me see here. I'm trying to find a good contract extension. Okay, we're going to look at Teron Armstead's deal. Ranked 14th. So with that being said, base salary. Let's do some work here. 1, 2, we added 4, so 9 million. 13.25. 25 million. 13.3 million and 12.3 million. Sign Prorated bonuses, 12 million. No void years. Guaranteed salaries, 17 million. That's the only guaranteed salary for 1 year. So that's probably 8. You're gonna have to pay a lot on this bonus. Probably $10 million roster bonus there. And that's probably gonna cost like 10 million. Almost every year. With that, let's work that in. Okay, we're still looking really good here. Cap hit 9 mil. Let's see, cap hit would be 15 mil this year. 21 million next year. 25, 27. Okay. This is getting interesting. We're going to work Logan Wilson's contract. And we're going to copy... Oh, Deion Jones only got a 1 year. Dang it. Trying to find a good number. Oh, and you're fine, Penguin. I'm just really tired, and I said I would do this video, so I like to keep my promises. Let me see, Matt Milano. How's Matt Milano looking? Contract with his linebacker. Matt Milano signed. Okay, we'll copy Matt Milano's contract on a 1, 2, 3, 4-year extension, maybe. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Base salary. See, when did he sign the contract extension? So 5.5 million, 1.3 million, 9.25 million, and 9.5 million. Prorated bonuses equal out to 13.5 million. Guaranteed salary 5.5 million. 1.035 million. And that's it for that. So then non-prorated bonuses. Per game roster bonus, workout bonus. We're going to allocate about 5 million. Oh my god, I keep messing with his base thing. Make that transaction. And see, we're watching that 50 plus million we had come down now to 30 million without signings for these extensions, because we're gonna those extensions, the Higgins, Wilson, and Burrow are gonna really jump cap numbers for this year. Let me see, looking at our 2024 free agents, that's why we want to kind of get a deal done with Reader as well. When we look at Reader's played at 3.63, he's getting paid a lot more. DJ Reader might be potential cap casualty. Let's see if we work DJ Reader into a cut. Yeah, we save $11 million. However, I'd like to keep Reader around. Let me see. Oh, everything just closed on my Chrome.